I worked at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. In a way, for many crypto folks, that's like the belly of the beast.
All right. Good morning, all. Welcome to Stable Stories. Today, we have Zain Cheng. He is the CTO of Horizen Labs and ZKVerify. Zane, how are you doing today?
Good. Excited to be here, Dave. And hey, everyone.
Hey, yeah, excited too. This is a big good episode. So why don't we jump right in? Tell us a little bit about your background coming into crypto and how you got started with Horizen.
Yeah, I'm Zane. I'm CTO of Horizen Labs, and we're focused on privacy, zkproofs, and the intersection of AI and blockchain. We have two core projects, which is one, the Horizen blockchain and TE, trusted execution environment, and two, ZKVerify, which is a blockchain focused on solely verifying proofs. Yeah, me personally, I mean, I'm working out of Puerto Rico right now, along with a lot of crypto folks here. We took refuge here, and it's funny how life is because now I'm building out Web3 and crypto. But at the start of my career, I worked at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. In a way, for many crypto folks, that's like the belly of the beast, the polar opposite. It's kind of like a story of contrast. But I was there for 5 years, from 2005 to 2010. So that includes the global financial crisis of 2008, all of Lehman. And also, I didn't know it at the time. It was the start of Bitcoin, January 2009, that first Genesis block. But from the Fed, I watched it all unfold. Although I didn't go down the Bitcoin route, I kind of went down this like personal, curious journey of my own at the Fed as I was watching it unfold. Like, randomly picked up a book by Ayn Rand. It was Fountainhead that led me down to Atlas Shrugged, Objectivism, Libertarianism, and then I picked up, the School of Austrian Economics, Cedric Hayek. And I mean, I didn't major in economics. I majored in computer science and electrical and computer engineering. So I had to like relearn all these kind of like economics that I mean, I kind of learned in high school, but threw it all away because it wasn't important knowledge. So I think this might be a familiar story where it's like, hey, you get led down the like libertarian path. So I was looking at it from kind of like the inside the belly of the beast. And as I was learning this, I just couldn't, I couldn't stay there. 6 months later, I ended up leaving. So I like learned about it around when I was there in the 4.5 year mark. And then 6 months later, I left the Fed. I joined, I guess, another belly of the beast, the corporate belly of the beast. I joined an old kind of like Lehman team that got taken over by Barclays. So all credit default swaps. Then I caught the entrepreneurial bug. And yeah, it wasn't until I became an advisor for Horizen Labs. I was at another startup at the time. I caught the crypto bug. I read this book, two books. One was like Mastering Ethereum, of course, by Gavin Wood and Andreas Antonopoulos, and then Bitcoin Billionaires by Ben Mesrich, and that kind of led me down like this crypto journey.
Nice. I love the barbell reading on crypto. The most technical and the most degen brought you to the middle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good contrast. You're right.
Before we get too far into the questions, I have to ask, presumably being at the Fed, you had a deep financial background already, right? And you mentioned that you had just picked up Austrian School of Economics, Hayek, as a function of like the reading path that you were taking independently after you had started working in finance. So I guess my question is, did those concepts come across your desk while you were in school? Or was it just not part of the curriculum at all as you were going through it? Or you reviewed it again later on in life and it kind of hit different? Because that's really interesting to me, right? You would assume that would be something that you would come across over your
Before then,
education.
right? Yeah. Even in high school, I just loved the sciences, math, physics. I went to school in Cornell, so I chose Cornell because of the physics program. I started as a majoring in physics. I only took high school economics, and I don't know. There's like when you're young, you learn something, and then you just kind of throw it away. You don't like really use it. So I like learned the knowledge from economics, but threw it away. And through college, I was more like a computer science nerd, and I did learn distributed systems. And I remember reading the Bitcoin white paper way later in Ethereum. I thought, wow, they solved the money problem in distributed systems. But to answer your question, while I was at the Fed, I was a software engineer, so I
Fair
was
enough.
like a little bit detached from the economics side of things. It was along the side, and so I was more focused on like the architecture of systems, scaling them, and it was just for finance. And yeah, it was more like serendipity. It was like I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in Borders and Barnes and Nobles, and I just like I don't know, just like randomly came across it. I heard of Ayn Rand, but I didn't know like anything about her, and just
Yeah.
ended up Fountainhead Star.
Well, however you got here, you're here now. It's the important thing, right? We got one
Yeah,
more in the
yeah,
team.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I think in the back of my head, as I was watching like the banks being bailed out, I was thought like, hey, there's got to be another way. Like, is there another way? I didn't get into crypto till like 2021, but between then, I was at startups where I was at one startup for 7.5 years. I was early, helped to take it public. So I caught that entrepreneurial bug. But
Mhm.
it wasn't until much later that I like got into crypto and the spirit of crypto and realized how important it is. And yeah, I mean, the spirit of crypto, stable coins, and I just can't see it dying. And I think it'll just evolve even more as we're in this age of AI.
Definitely. And that's a good segue to our first big talking point, which is, AI, agentic payments, stable coins, privacy. These seem to be the topics that the entire crypto industry is talking about, and even beyond the crypto industry. You guys seem to be sitting right at the center of that. And I'd love your thoughts on the evolution of agentic payment systems, the need for stable coins, and sort of the role that privacy products have in actually making that happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, right now, there's like this proliferation of like agents. They're representing us while we sleep. And it's so easy to create an AI agent nowadays. And a lot of the AI agents, they have onboard wallets with stable coins. And, like agent is not going to have a bank account. They're not going to have be able to do KYC, but they're interacting with each other. More recently, all the Molt book stuff where they're conversing. For me, my first interaction with the concept of AI agents was somewhere around a year ago. I was listening to an A16Z podcast with Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, and they were talking about this AI agent called Terminal of Truth.
Yeah, truth
Uh,
terminal.
uh,
The
yeah, Truth Terminal.
NDRV. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like it was quite a while ago, and I thought it was funny how like yeah, it like tried to solicit Mark Andreessen for like 50K worth of Bitcoin so that he could publish his
Successfully,
mission.
successfully. Andreessen actually funded it. I think it was 10K that he sent over
Okay, it's
to it.
10K. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. And it was trying to like kind of like get out of what was it? Be sentient. And I thought,
Mhm.
wow, that's crazy. And they also had the what is it? The infinite back
Infinite
rooms, I think.
backrooms.
Yeah, all the AI agents talking to each other. And I thought, wow, this is pretty incredible. And for us at Horizon, we started looking at it and we thought, wow, all these agents communicating with each other, like they're doing work on behalf of others. And I think even now there's like agents delegating work to other agents. And we thought, wow, you know, zero knowledge proofs could play a role here where, you know, an agent does some work and another agent doesn't want to do that work again. So you could provide a proof saying that, hey, I've done this work according to this algorithm, and you don't have to recompute it. All you have to do is verify this proof, and you can carry on. So right now, that's our goal. We're experimenting with the agentic economy, where hey, we can use zero knowledge proofs to avoid recomputation, and also looking at the privacy side of things. It's still early for us, but our team is like doing some experimentation around like agents communicating and working together.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been really incredible to watch the Claude Moltbot, OpenClaw ecosystem really explode literally over the last couple of weeks. My multi has been sitting on the sidelines reading Moltbook, but has been hesitant to engage. So I've given it free reign to post when it wants to, but otherwise it can lurk,
But
which is
it's
funny.
observant.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because like that's kind of the path that I typically take on socials. I'm not overtly active on socials. I use it for information gathering. It's super useful to me, but I don't post very often. So to see my AI doppelganger adopt the same approach theoretically independently was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. The AI doppelganger. They say like your dog, if you have a dog, they kind of like adopt your characteristics and start looking like you. I think it's like the
Mhm.
same with AI agents.
Yeah, 100%. But I want to call something out. It's I noticed on the Horizon website, there's a section titled Web three's next wave is trustworthy. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Like privacy, ZK proofs, really, really hot right now in the narrative. I'd like to know from your perspective what needs to exist that doesn't already exist in terms of privacy infra to lay the groundwork for the next or even the first real wave of mainstream adoption of like Web3 native products. Like what's just not out there yet.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, there's a lot of tech already out there. So yeah, you're right that like, the early privacy movement, it was more around like cypherpunks and like complete privacy. Now there's like a group of other folks coming in. You mentioned mainstream adoption, institutions coming in with different requirements. And for us, so we do work a lot with zero knowledge proofs, and that has been part of our kind of like our ethos for a while, and we've become experts at it. But we also felt like the tech is on its way to maturity, but we want to offer something immediately. So we started exploring trusted execution environments, which is a really mature technology. And so we wanted to bridge the gap from what's needed now, which is offering TEs and allowing for regulatory compliant computation and transfers on the way to zero knowledge proofs. And we're working towards what's called a cryptographic TE, which is not having any of the hardware, but using cryptography and zero knowledge proofs to get there. For us at Horizon, we do have a very deep privacy roots. When I joined Horizon Labs right at 2021 when the founder and CEO, he asked me, hey, while I was at that startup, that, hey, would you just like to be an advisor? Come on, we really need you. And that kind of like got me into it. So I started like looking at attending some meetings, some of the like project planning, like tech brainstorms, and you know, at that time in 2021, Horizon, it was a fork of Zcash. Being a fork of Zcash, that's a fork of Bitcoin. It's a UTXO based blockchain. Privacy first, privacy coin, same as Zcash and Monero, very strong privacy DNA. And we had product market fit as a privacy coin. But when I joined, I felt like we were kind of like a desert island. We were like isolated from the Ethereum community. And, and reading mastering Ethereum, I like and following that whole arc. I like love the ethos of what Vitalik was doing. And also in 2021, at that time, there was this talk given by the Ethereum executive director at the time. Her name was Aya Miyaguchi, I think. So she talked about Ethereum's infinite garden. Does that sound familiar? The Ethereum infinite
Yeah, yeah.
garden.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It like came, I mean, it's still there right now. But her talk was about like how there was like this concept of like finite games and infinite games. And a finite game is just like any game that you would be familiar with, like play to win, like Monopoly and others. You play to win, and that's the whole purpose of a finite game. Sorry, that's a finite game. So, but then she brought up this other thing called an infinite game, where the whole purpose is continuing to play. You change the rules, you adapt, and you're playing with ideas, and you're hopeful. And she painted Ethereum as this like kind of like this infinite game within a garden. So we're all in it. We're all in it together. We're trying to grow like a community, not just the protocol. And that really resonated with me. So, we went from these like strong privacy roots, and we're now part of the Ethereum ecosystem. So, yeah, to kind of like close the loop on everything in that question, I feel like in terms of privacy, there is a movement towards like more players, more people coming to this garden, and they have different requirements coming in, and that's the institutions, everyday folks. It's different from like Cypherpunks of before, but it doesn't take away from it. It adds to this infinite garden, this like infinite game.
That's that's a really good point, and something I'd like to talk to a little bit more. The tension between the different priorities in terms of privacy with the different user groups in crypto, because you're totally right. The original idea of crypto was very cypherpunk, self-custodial, anonymity, privacy preserving, and it seems like the narrative has shifted more to the institutional level, where if we're going to onboard the masses, we need to build compliant products that require privacy built in for institutions to allow us to access those user groups. And I always find the irony of that is the people who care the least typically about privacy are mass users. Most of the time, it's just as long as it works. 99% of the time, it's fine. And then every now and again, 1% of the time, everybody gets rugged and then you move on, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I'd love your perspective on the shifting priorities of privacy. And do you see the core ethos and the sort of updated roadmap as symbiotic, or are we diverging in terms of the way that we're thinking about what privacy means in Web3?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough question. I mean, privacy is an inherent right, and Vitalik has pushed for privacy always. He talked about the three transitions for Ethereum to go mainstream, and one is like L2s with both specialization and scaling, and another one is around like right privacy. And so I don't think it has changed too much. I always think of like kind of like the greater picture of decentralization. I think privacy is important for us to have crypto and decentralization in the masses, and I think it's more like the selective disclosure of different things. And I think for us at Horizon, the framework that we came up with, and it's cataloged better in our white paper, which is available in our site. We feel that we wanted to give, because there's so many different countries, districts, regions, and they all have different like, meanings for what compliance is. We gave a lot of the power to DApp, so DApp's building on Horizon. So we went towards a DApp centric privacy environment. So DApps have the ability to determine their privacy rules, what they'll share, what they won't share, whether like, they could like whitelist certain addresses. They could like say, hey, certain transactions above a certain amount be completely private and nobody has access to them. And so, that was our approach. We took a more DApp centric approach, and DApps could be like region specific. They could be um, you know, community specific, and that's independent of different regions.
Very cool. And Horizon late last year announced or migrated to Base and L3 on Base. That's right? And you're seeking to be
Yes.
the privacy layer for the Base ecosystem.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about the idea that informed that migration and how the first few months have been going.
The last East Denver last year, yes, there was the announcement of like base app chains of freeze, and we were part of that initial cohort. Yeah, our goal. So I had mentioned the desert island. We had felt like even though we had our own privacy coin, we lacked the ability to have an EVM and be programmatic. And we were part of the kind of like the side chains movement where we created a EVM sidechain that connected to our main blockchain Horizon, that UTXO based chain through zero knowledge proofs. But we weren't participating in the community. We weren't participating in the infinite garden, which Base is part of. And we looked at all the key chains that were growing fast and had a lot of TVL. And so Base, Arbitrum, ZK Sync were all part of it. And a lot of the Base ethos, they like resonated with us. We liked what they were doing with like DeFi, Aerodrome. We liked like all the apps. Eventually, they came up with Coinbase Wallet became the Coinbase app, which is like the everything app. And
Hmm.
so yeah, we wanted to offer a specialized chain for the Base ecosystem where we focused on privacy. We wanted it to be an app chain so that it had close ties to the liquidity of Base, and we wanted to serve both the Base and Ethereum communities.
Awesome. Fantastic. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on before we closed out is you made an announcement that you're going to be shipping TEE based confidential compute environments later this year. I'd love to know more about what they are from a high level and what they're going to enable.
Yeah, yeah. From a high level, TEs, trusted execution environments, they are essentially this like computation area that is sectioned off and really a secure environment. Sometimes it's called a secure enclave. And Vitalik has mentioned use of TEs, especially for kind of like read only access that where you're not able, like RPC endpoints are not able to see it. So TEs have been like a way to preserve privacy and do like off-chain computation without additional tooling that zero knowledge proofs and complex cryptography requires. So yes, we are launching the Horizon confidential computing environment, and it's based. It lives inside of a AWS Nitro enclave. So on a high level, dApps they have state, they have computation. It all runs in this secure environment where it is both private and it doesn't use as much gas. So it is when that computation runs, it is done by a specific CPU. And then at the end of it, it is signed by that and then returned back. The output is encrypted, returned back, and then results saved on the chain, all encrypted way, and offers like not only immediate privacy and use now, but also a a way to have compliance.
Very cool. Amazing. Before we close out, anything else on the horizon for 2026?
Yeah, yeah,
Throw that in there.
I know. That's and sometimes I like spell Horizon with an E by accident. Forget that it's actually spelled with an O.
I won't lie. When I was
Instead of
writing out the
Horizon.
yeah, when I was writing out the run of sheet, the number of autocorrects that I had to like readjust because it kept autocorrecting back to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
what's
mean,
coming up?
yeah, like we're continuing to we have a developer fund and we're continuing to add more privacy focused apps onto the chain as they onboard. We're in mainnet right now. And so you know, for me I'm like more focused on the research side. Yeah, I'd mentioned that like we're working towards taking the that hardware TE and eventually going to cryptographic TE, so no hardware at all. And so our research team is working directly with the Ethereum Foundation, and we're looking at ways to get to that cryptographic TE. There are these things called blind snarks, and so I think that's an area that's up and coming, and we're like looking into it as part of an implementation. So that's around the Horizon side and the privacy expertise. And then we have our other products, ZKVerify, and there, yeah, we're looking to create more applications of ZKVerify where we believe that there's explosion of zkproofs that will come, and we're focused on like the agentic economy and verifying proofs for the agentic economy as part of like a broader push, like thinking of agents as customers, not just humans.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to think about it. I think most people in the space that are paying attention are trying to figure out how to sell products and services to this completely new market segment. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if they're holding stable coins and if they have wallets, we gotta find ways to market to them.
that's right. Thank you so much, Zane, for joining today. If people want to learn more about you, about Horizon, about ZK Verify, where should they go?
Yeah, for Horizon, Horizon.io, zkverify.io. Check out both the white papers available on the site. And for me, I will be in East Denver, so come say hello to us. We will have a booth there.
Amazing. This will come out on the Monday, just as ETH Denver is starting, I believe. So you probably get some people to come by. Thanks very
All right.
much. Enjoy the rest of your
Thanks.
day.
Thanks, Dave. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks.